Charley, at breakfast we had a fascinating conversation, and I just wondered if we could kind of pick up where we left off when the waitress dropped the check off. Um, we're, I was telling you about this blog post that I did about people videotaping and using their iPhones and iPads and at conferences, and that there was both positive and negative reaction to that. And some people claim that they have a learning disability, and I know that you have a lot of expertise in that area. And if people are watching this video and don't know Charley, Charley's one of those rare farriers with a PhD, and his PhD happens to be in special education. So Charley, what do you say when people say they have a learning disability and they have to capture stills or video at a conference, or people who claim that they are visual learners? Can you tell me your reaction to this?
Well, if they take any information from anybody at a conference or anyplace else, whether it's visual or auditory or a combination of it, unless they turn around and apply it, I found that people don't really learn much out of it anyway. And it is not particularly useful, and of course it's really stealing from that person's ideas. And if you can use it for your own use, that's one thing, but for somebody else's and to share it with everybody in the world, that's not what it is proper to do. If you want to learn something, you have to turn around and you have to use the information that you pick up wherever you pick it up, and then put it and apply it to your situation before anything will work within your brain to help you learn it.
Charley, you're on your way to Maine right now to teach a course in metalworking to farriers and artists. And if someone comes up to you and says that they want to videotape the day's work, what are you going to say?
You can do it if you want to, because I don't have anything invested in it as far as getting any money out of it besides teaching. But it isn't going to do you a lot of good, because to watch me demonstrate is not going to do you any good unless you turn around and use that information to work at it, to apply it, which you'll be doing the whole class anyway. And that when I can coach you while you're working at it, making mistakes, correcting them, helping you to understand the process, that's where the true learning is going to happen, and not watching a videotape.
What about people who attend lectures at conferences and they say that they have a learning disability? Can you explain anything about learning disabilities for me?
Learning disability, the label of learning disability can be a detriment to learning, because if you think you have a learning disability, you actually do have one, because you are not being able to apply yourself to getting the information you need and then doing whatever is needed after you get that information to complete their learning process.
Okay, but I know that some people will say, I can learn something by videotaping you doing it and then breaking it down into steps. I think that you would probably agree with that. Is that right?
That would be better.
Yeah.
But you still have to apply it, and the completion of the learning comes when you try to apply it and make mistakes, and then try to find out why you made the mistake and learn how to avoid it in the future. Learning is a series of making mistakes and correcting them, and unless you complete the process, there's no real learning going on other than the basic learning of rote and possibly understanding. Without application, there's no true learning, in my opinion.
What advice would you give, Charley, to somebody that has, throughout their life been told that they had a learning disability, and they have managed to get through school, and now they're trying to learn a skill, whether it's artistic or related to, something about the horse's foot or whatever? Would you advise them to go to conferences and go to lectures?
I would advise them to find a good teacher that can break things down for them into the size of information and application that they can learn. If you try to learn everything at once, it's like, as they say nowadays, drinking from a fire hose. You don't get much water out of that. All you do is get wet, and the learning process has to be completed through application and actually doing it. You need somebody to help guide you into those smaller, however small that step has to be for you to understand it, and then move on from there.
What about concepts? I mean, in addition to actually, say, trimming or shoeing a horse, what about concepts of things like anatomy and conformation?
Anatomy and conformation is always better if you, of course, if you work with it. That's why medical students take apart cadavers, is because they can learn a lot more about the body by digging into it. And the same is true with horses. If you want to learn something about them, it'd be helpful to take it apart, but at least study the different aspects of it and get involved with horses that do different things, and so you can understand what's happening and have somebody point it out to you. You're probably not going to get it on your own because there's just too many things. Again, you're drinking from a fire hose when you try to take a whole horse and find out one little thing about it.
So is going to a conference the equivalent of drinking out of a fire hose?
It could be. You have to be selective about what you want to learn, and of course you have to want to learn it. If you don't want to learn it, no sense going to the conference. You might as well go sit in the bar and talk with your buddies, which many conferences turn out to be as social events. But if you know what you want to learn, go and try to figure it out, and then corner the person afterwards and try to make sure that they can convey to you a better understanding of why they are saying what they're saying and why they're doing what they're doing.
Okay. Well, that's really helpful, Charlie. This has been one of the best breakfasts I've had in a long time. Thanks so much, and thanks for allowing me to videotape this.
You're welcome.